I don't think Kurt Cobain ever did a cover of any Police songs or whatever
I
band
don't,
that was.
I don't think so, and I also don't know what band that is.
As the days go by, we get a DMA strip.
The only thing he's covered recently is The Ceiling, am I right?
Hey, it's Tuesday. Hey everybody, it's Tuesday, December the 15th, 2020, and this is the Fourth and Wrong Podcast. I'm your host, RJ. Joining me as always is Keith. Say hi, Keith.
Hi, Keith.
A mouthful of smoke, and ready to come in for more. Yeah, everything's going. Everything's been going.
Are we ready?
Yeah, this is it. We're in it.
I'm here.
Monday night was not as kind to you as it was to me, unfortunately.
I'm really tired.
I'm sorry. And I don't just
stayed
mean
up all
work.
night. I'm stayed up all night crying.
Oh. Have you rebuilt that part of the living room where you just cry and get handed beers?
No, I was at work, so I was able to figure it out while I was at work before I got home. I didn't have to go into my hidey hole and just be sad.
You got all
So
the
I played
tears
some
out in
video
the walk-in.
games. Yeah, I got exactly. Oh fuck, dude. This one hurt, man. This one hurt a lot.
It was a really good game that did not turn out the way that you wanted it to.
Yeah, so
Parky!
yeah, fucking Cody Parkey. Fuck you, Justin Tucker. Fuck you, Lamar Jackson. Fucking 9 carries for 124 yards.
Yeah.
9 carries.
It was, he had a 14-yard average or something.
Yeah. He had a 44-yard scamper for a touchdown.
He did also have that, yeah. That doesn't help you.
So, Browns lost on Monday Night Football.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, they lost by... essentially, they lost by 2. Or by 3. By 3.
Yeah.
The score says 5, but there was 2 seconds left on the clock. Browns did some schoolyard bullshit at the end of the game to try to get something out of it because there wasn't enough time to do the Hail Mary and then spike the ball kind of deal.
Yeah.
Or do the Hail Mary and timeout kind of thing. It was literally 2 seconds left, so it's like shallow completion and then hook and lateral yourself through the end zone for a safety. It was hard.
And scoregami.
Yeah, it was a scoregami. 47-42 is a score that's never existed in the NFL. Until now. Also, this is the first time since 1922 where both teams combined for 9 rushing touchdowns.
Yes, I think I heard about that. And it was one of 2 games ever or something like that.
Yeah, and those 2 games were from teams that literally don't exist anymore. So, the Browns got a slow start. The Ravens got the start that I expected. Lamar Jackson, I wouldn't say he's 100%, especially after he had to leave the game for a fair amount. But he's still so dynamic and he's so good. And the Ravens staff have seemed fairly content, especially with him coming back from the COVID list, of just letting Lamar be Lamar and stop forcing him to be a pocket guy. And we're seeing the reason why he won the MVP last year, showing itself as the Ravens are obviously trying to make a push to stay playoff relevant, because right now they're out of the wild card hunt, or they're in the hunt but they're out of the wild card picture. If the playoffs were to start tomorrow, the Browns, even at 9-4 with this loss, still have the top wild card seed. But it hurt because especially after the Bills game, and we'll get to that, the Steelers going down 2 games, this win would have done a bunch of things for Cleveland. It would have made it almost statistically improbable for us to miss the playoffs. Our playoff percentage from, it wouldn't have been a clinch mathematically, but the sports media simulations had it at a 99.8% if we would have won this game.
That's pretty good.
That's essentially a clinch. We could have lost out for the rest of the season and walked into the last seed in the wild card, because we have tiebreakers over Indianapolis and the Titans. So pretty much whatever happens in the AFC South between those two teams, we have the tiebreaker because we swept the AFC South this year. It hurts because it would also put us only one game back from contending for the division. Now, we're not out of the fight for the division, but the Steelers, like us, have kind of powder puff games until we play Week 17. So the Steelers, going into the next 2 weeks, they play the Bengals, and then they play the Colts. Now, they could drop that Colts game.
They could drop that Colts game.
Yeah, the Colts is a trap game, but it all depends on how Phillip Rivers plays, and he's just so inconsistent this season. And then they play us at the end of the week, or at the end of the season. So that end of the season game, that Week 17 game, could easily be for a divisional championship because we close out the season playing the Jets, the Giants, and the Steelers. The Ravens at this point are kind of mathematically eliminated from taking the division. Pretty much,
they would need to win out and then and then you would have to lose out.
Yeah, us and the Steelers would have to lose out, and the Ravens would have to win out in order for them to take a division spot or take the division championship. So this was different for me. The reason why it hurt so much for me, and I'll kind of explain it, is this is the first time Cleveland's played meaningful football in 13 years in December. We were in a very similar situation in 2007 when we went 10-6, where the last two games of the season, or the last few games of the season, were almost win and you're in scenarios. Mm-hmm. And we were playing meaningful football in December, but this is the first time I've been able to witness us play meaningful football in December with a team and a coaching staff that I think could shake some stuff up in the playoffs, actually have some success in the playoffs if we make the playoffs. And it was hard because I've seen growth in this football team, and you saw it on the scoreboard. I mean, what was the score the first time we played the Ravens this year? It was 38-6.
Yes.
Not a 6-point team game.
Yep.
This isn't the same Browns the Ravens played the first time.
No. No, 100% not. And on top of it, I mean, the announcers even said it at the end of last night, which is, win or lose, this Browns team is not the same old Browns at this point. Yeah. And they're absolutely not the team that only put up 6 points at the beginning of the season.
Mm-hmm. Not a 6-point team.
Not a 6-point
merch.com. So it's, I feel somber today, not only because I'm tired, but because I'm dealing with a crisis in my brain. And we'll get a little into the analysis of the actual game, but I just want to express how I feel because, the Cleveland Browns are important to me. And it's been really fun watching a good football team come out of Cleveland.
It's nice, right?
And yeah, it was really nice, but it was really hard watching that game in the way it did. It was heartbreaking. I could barely sleep that night. Yeah, I could barely sleep last night, aside from being at work and, having to run a call at 4 a.m. and stuff. It was very difficult to settle myself down. I was pacing in the day room of the station for hours while the game was still on. But that's how good of a game it was. I couldn't stay in my seat. The Ravens got up quick early, and Baker Mayfield saddled up the horse, and they brought it back, and it turned into a fucking shootout, and a good one.
That game should have been over about 3 times in the last 2 minutes.
Right, and that's the fight that Cleveland's been missing over the years. Is we get down multiple scores, and essentially the game's over. Statistically, the game's over, but not this season. And we've seen it happen before. We've gotten some miracle wins, one including, Cincinnati, last second pass to Donovan Peoples-Jones to sweep the Cincinnati series, which is a team that we really shouldn't have kept that close with. But then to also have such a strong fight against a team like the Ravens, who, yes, have been on a slide, but they also had 33 players on the COVID list.
Yeah.
33 on an active roster of 59. How much is the active roster now? 53. They had more than two-thirds of their roster was on the injured reserve.
They were digging deep into that practice squad.
So yeah, they let a couple of games slide. But the Ravens, especially this roster they play good football in December, and it was our defense they were able to pick. Our front four did as much as they could. They were able to pick on a weak secondary, which is how you beat the Browns. Our secondary is weak right now, and it got weaker because of this game. Because Andrew Sendejo's out with a concussion now. So literally,
it's
arguably,
off the bum list and onto the IR.
Yeah. So what some people would consider the weakest part of our secondary, which is safety depth, just got weaker. So it was very hard. It was very hard to watch towards the end because of the comeback that was made for it to end on a 55-yard Justin Tucker fucking field goal after Lamar Jackson comes back from cramps in the locker room after an IV. Cramps, yeah.
He was shitting himself. Come on. Let's just ride the narrative.
Yeah. Goes back to the locker room, gets an IV. Backup quarterback goes down right at the 2-minute warning, and Lamar Jackson comes out like all the media kept saying. He came out like a superhero.
Yeah.
And then those last two drives that the Ravens had, they played lights out.
I mean, Lamar came back and was just like, I'm the MVP, and this is why.
Right. They played, the Ravens deserved to win that game. And I can say that because of how, even though we lost, how much fun I had watching and how hard both teams fought for that win. I'm not a big fan of moral victories. So I'm not gonna sit back and go, hey, the Browns may not have won, but at least they proved to the rest of the league that they're legit. I'm not going to sit here and say that. Because in order to prove to the rest of the league that you're actually legit, these are the games that you need to win. Because these are the games you're going to see in the playoffs.
Yeah.
When we go to the playoffs this year, these are the games that we're going to have. These are the teams we're going to play. We're going to play the Titans. We could play the Titans. We could play the Ravens. We could play the Bills. These are the teams we're going to have to play. They're good football teams. They're going to be hard-fought games. Probably a lot of scoring. So I see what people are trying to do, which is like, hey, the Browns, scored 22 points in the fourth quarter to take a 1-point lead for the Ravens to answer back, then for the Browns to answer back, for the Ravens to have to come have a miracle drive to get in field goal range. The Browns don't do that, but they did it this year, and that proves something. And to me, I get what you're trying to do, but it's there's still so much to improve on that I got to keep my blinders on because we have an eye on a prize this season. We're playing for something, and losing games hurts our ability to capture that thing. So there is no moral victory. We lost. Losing a football game is losing a football game, And going into the last 3 games of the season, we can't lose. We want seeding in the NFL. We want seeding in the playoffs. We don't want to be a wild card team. I prefer to to be hosting a fucking playoff game.
Oh,
but if we are going to be
baby steps. Listen,
baby steps.
The Bills are just getting used to it too. All right. Sometimes you just got to get in to feel good about it. But
Oh, sure, yeah, and don't get me wrong. I'm not going to detract from anything as far as the success we've had this year. And if we make it to the playoffs, that's all. Dude, the playoffs for the Browns have been on my Christmas list since 2002. Okay, but Santa's a prick. And I don't know. I pissed on him or something. but like it's like the video said, it's statistically less likely for a team to be this bad than to just occasionally be decent. So like I'm not going to take anything away, but when a game is this close against a division rival who swept us this season but didn't sweep us last season, in games that have significant playoff implications, there is no moral victory, because at the end of the day, you win the game or you lose the game.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I'm definitely empathetic to your loss, especially after the Hail Murray, but ours was not a divisional loss. It wasn't even like a conference loss, so it hits much less. But I mean, I still would have taken that win. I'd love to be 11-2 right now, also, and be laughing at the Steelers in second place and going, "Come on, Mahomes, just slip, baby, just one more time."
It was one more time.
Except they've got a tiebreaker over us, but you know.
Nah, it's semantics.
Slip 2 more times.
Yeah, slip a lot. Slip for the rest of the season. You know, so it's always different when it's a divisional rival, especially Baltimore. Like, as much as I hate Pittsburgh, like, I hate Baltimore. Like, Baltimore is like the sworn rival of the Browns, but like all Browns fans know why Baltimore is Baltimore and why we hate Baltimore. And to be swept by Baltimore, it hurts, especially with how good the team is this year. But going into the game itself, saw some really good performances again from Donovan Peoples-Jones. That dude impresses me every week.
He's turning it on at the right time, as it were.
And absolutely. And then Kareem Hunt being a safety valve for Baker is very important, especially with Kareem Hunt's ability to, you know, to get them yak yards. I felt like the running game was a little underutilized, but the way Baker was playing in the second half of that football game, like, but did they really need the running game like they normally do?
On one hand, it's like, was it underutilized? Like, maybe the yards weren't all there. You still got 4 rushing touchdowns, so it was definitely doing something.
Absolutely, and I'm a firm believer of the hot hand. You know, it's like a 3-point shooter in the NBA. You know, kick it out to the hot hand. Aside from Baker's interception, which was just straight up a bad read, and that interception was very important to the outcome of the game. You know, Baker, especially in that second half, crawling back into the game, like, Baker played lights out.
Yeah.
And Baker is continuously, like I said, after those weather games where he was stagnant. You know, this was Baker Mayfield's first interception in 187 attempts.
It was a lot, yeah.
It was the longest active streak in the NFL.
The last 5 games he hadn't thrown an interception or something like that. So.
Yep. The first 6 games of the season, Baker was 10 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Not great. Not bad, but not great. The last 7 games of the season, he had 13 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. The discrepancy in his QBR is almost 20 points in those 2 periods of time. His completion percentage is almost 15% in that period of time. Baker is, over the past 5 weeks of football, Baker statistically is is a top 5 quarterback in the league. It's consistency. You know, we've used that word before describing Baker Mayfield, as getting consistency out of him. But especially after those weather games where he was able to throw the ball again, you know, these last 3 games we've gotten from Baker Mayfield have been really good football games. You know, in Jacksonville, 19 for 29, 250 yards, 2 touchdowns. In Tennessee, 25 for 33, 334 yards, 4 touchdowns. Baltimore, 28 for 47, 343 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. So, like, the last 3 games had fucking 900 yards passing, fucking 8 touchdowns and 1 interception. It's starting to get back to, you know, Baker showing the league and showing us, the fans, and showing the team, like, why we picked him number 1 overall. And the more comfortable he's getting in this system, and the more comfortable Kevin Stefanski is with his play calling, um, you're seeing them letting the leash out a little bit when it comes to the passing game. And this was another example of that. Like he's following the hot hand. A lot of people have issues with the fact that like we rely so much heavy on like the bootleg and the play action.
Mm-hmm.
Because they feel like Kevin Stefanski's having to scheme around Baker Mayfield. But we could say the same thing about Jared Goff, who's also better on the move. Sure. When the pocket's being moved.
I also kind of felt like in this most recent game they didn't really rely on that, because I feel like, at least from what I caught, which was basically the last minute of the second quarter and the second half of the game, like to keep like the Browns kind of had to get back into it and then like keep going, and I felt like they went 5 wide and just left Baker to fucking get back there and just deal like a lot more than trying to hide stuff with play action this time around. And I didn't even feel like I saw that many like jet sweeps or anything to try and just like get people moving. No, it was just like put receivers out there, let them run routes, and just let Baker deal.
Yeah, late in the game, really the only motion was from Kareem Hunt, and that was either putting him in the backfield as an extra blocker if they were picking up on a blitz, or kicking him out into the slot as another receiving option. Like, that's really the only motion we saw. Like, Baker Mayfield was very much standing in the pocket, and clean pockets too. Our offensive line has been playing out of their fucking minds. Clean pockets and fucking delivering some throws. Sean McVay has built an entire offense around Jared Goff's ability to roll out and use that motion to his advantage, and like keep a pocket clean for him when they're not in the play action, and like just on time passes, anticipatory throws. And it was never a problem for him because they went to the Super Bowl. But Baker Mayfield's number 1 overall draft pick, coming off of 2 losing seasons and a regression last season, so like the magnifying glasses on him, so like. You got to keep the blinders on when it comes to the media like that, because they want to create the narrative, and the narrative I'm seeing out of Baker Mayfield this season unequivocally is a serviceable, if not good, starting quarterback. He has 2,700 yards, 23 touchdowns, 8 picks, and an average QBR of 72. In his first season with these coaching staffs. So, as far as Baker Mayfield's concerned, I'm not worried. But let's talk about that pick real quick. The Ravens do this thing that you have to scheme for. The Ravens, if you watch their defensive packages, they show blitz every play.
Oh, I was going to say they put 15 men on the field, but Baker got him on that one.
Yeah.
My telestrator doesn't go to 15.
No, it does not. Yeah, they pretty much show blitz every play, and you don't know who's going to drop into coverage. All you see the secondary, you see the safeties, but when it comes to the linebackers and the front 7, you don't know who's dropping into coverage. The defensive ends will drop into coverage. The outside linebackers will drop into coverage. The inside linebackers will blitz. They'll bring 5. They'll bring 3. They'll drop everybody into coverage. They do all these weird fucking things out of the same base set. And pretty much the read was... number 54, I can't remember his names, but it was Ravens linebacker. He was on the outside edge. Ball was snapped. He went into the left tackle like he was going to go in for a pass rush, and then bounced out to like a shallow hook zone. And Baker just kept the ball a little too far inside, trying to get it to Hollywood. Hollywood was running out. We're out. And Baker kept the ball a little too tight inside, and he was able to pop it up and intercept it, which put him at the 1-yard line. So J.K. Dobbins, next play, just pounds it in, because that dude's really hard to stop.
Yep.
That interception had a lot more implications than, like, a lot of people were like, well, why didn't Stefanski ice the kicker at the end of the game? You could make that argument.
I did.
You could also make the argument that it's Justin Tucker, literally the most accurate kicker in the history of the entire league.
That's why you still make him do it twice.
Make him do it twice, but I also am a firm believer of the reverse icing, though. You don't ice them because you know that's what they expect. So now the kicker thinks he's getting a practice kick, and he shanks the shit out of it.
Yeah, I mean, you're trying to call, rock on the paper that's gonna become scissors. Like, I understand where your head's at. I just figure you make him. It's Cleveland. Make him kick it again. You'll never get that same windage twice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As much as I was like, well, he could have at least tried to ice him, that interception had a lot more implication than that kick did.
Yeah.
Did not icing that guy. Because that allowed Baltimore to go up 21-7 or 21-14 or something like that. Like, it put a significant gap right before the third quarter, where we had to start playing comeback ball.
Yeah.
And it was just a bad read. Is a bad read and a worse pass. If you are going to throw it into a dropping linebacker, you got to put it outside where they can't get to it, because at least if your receiver doesn't get it, the only place the ball's going is to the sideline, But he was throwing to his left, so the ball tends to trail a little inside when you go to your left versus to your right. So I can understand how it happened, but that ball is a ball that we really wish we had back, because it had serious implications to the outcome of the game. Once again, one of our receivers is the best quarterback in our team. Had a little trickery early in the game, first drive. Baker Mayfield throws it's considered a toss because it was behind him, but throws a screen to Jarvis Landry, and Jarvis Landry taps it up. Jarvis Landry taps it up like he's about to throw it downfield, and then he turns around and throws it to Kareem Hunt, who's on the opposite sideline, and then Kareem Hunt runs for 12 yards for a first down. And this is the second week in a row where Jarvis Landry's had a completion. He's still perfect for the season. It's also the second week in a row where Jarvis Landry's had a completion like right before he got blew the fuck up. So Baker Mayfield spreading the hits to his receivers now. But at least last week he was able to get the roughing the passer call on it.
Oh, you mean like as he was throwing it,
throwing, Jarvis Landry got lit the fuck up.
Gotcha.
This week and last week.
Not like a couple plays later, Baker threw him into a bad route.
No. They hit his ass while he was throwing the ball. So Baker somehow conning his receivers into taking hits for him. Yeah. Nice to see. Higgins got involved. Nick Chubb got involved. Nick Chubb with 2 rushing touchdowns. Kareem Hunt with 1. Baker with 1. Baker had a really nice scramble drill in the red zone where...
I texted you afterwards. I said, just run with it, boy.
Yep. Ball snap. Pocket was relatively clean, but nobody could get open. So when the pocket started closing in, he found a gap to roll out. As he was rolling out, he was still looking downfield, and then in the back of his head, I guess he was just like, "Why not me?"
Yeah, he was only 8 yards out, and your wide receivers were like already throwing.
They were already in the box out. Like they were already like, "Just run it, Baker."
Yeah, just
Baker, why not me? So he runs in and like baseball slides through the end zone. It was pretty good. It was a nice feel good moment.
I was definitely sitting there like, you better not throw this. I could get that in there,
right? Nobody's going to close fast enough. It's fine. You'll be fine. Yeah. So a lot of fireworks, especially in that second half. It became very much back and forth, and then Lamar Jackson came out and did Lamar Jackson's thing. On the Browns converted, got a huge 2-point conversion. I'm of the same mindset that most coaches are nowadays in a stats-driven league. It's best to go for the 2-point conversion earlier in the game than later. Because statistically, you're more likely to get it when you don't need it.
Weird stat.
Yeah, weird stat, but it's true because something along the lines of like psychological pressure of the defense to stop the 2-point conversion, blah, 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 blah. You can be a little more creative with your offense when there's not as much pressure, so you're more willing to try a play that has a less likely chance to succeed, but a less likely chance the defense is going to think you're going to do that play.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Missed a really good ball into the end zone right before that Baker scramble. It was third down. Baker put a decent ball into the back of the end zone, nice and high for David Njoku. Went right into his hands, just outside, or right through his hands, just outside of his catch radius. The ball was where it needed to be. It was just the wrong person to throw it to. Njoku's tall. He's athletic. It was literally just a smidge. But then the next play, obviously, Baker Mayfield scrambles it in for a touchdown. So all is null.
And Njoku had at least one really nice sideline catch.
Yeah, and I was about to say, and Njoku has, for the most part, stepped up pretty well since Austin Hooper's been injured. Him and Harrison Bryant are doing their jobs. We require a lot of blocking out of our tight ends, so they might not get the numbers that you're used to seeing out of like your Travis Kelce types.
Right.
But they do operate as big-bodied safety valves for Baker just as much as Kareem Hunt does.
Yeah. Listen, Travis Kelce might lead the league in receiving this year, so it's kind of one would say it's impossible to do what Travis Kelce does unless you're Travis Kelce.
That is fair.
Or George Kittle, but he's out, so
a little bit. So towards the end of the game, Ravens went for a 2-point conversion to pretty much take their 2 points back that we got on our 2-point conversion. J.K. Dobbins.
Nothing.
Yeah. So what?
Didn't they miss that one?
No, they got it.
Oh, they missed a kicked extra point later on.
Yeah, they missed an extra point.
Okay.
J.K. Dobbins.
I'm writing this version where Cleveland wins.
That'd make me feel better. J.K. Dobbins did his best Marshawn Lynch impression. Bounced out to the left C side, and dropped a shoulder into a rapidly closing Andrew Sendejo, who was literally the only defender that had a shot to stop him from getting in. And J.K. Dobbins hit that man. Sendejo kind of put himself in danger, but obviously being the only tackler and trying to keep somebody out of the end zone, you want to put as much force into it as possible just to push him back away from the goal line. He kind of bounced off of him like a ping pong ball.
Did Dobbins hit him so hard he knocked him off your bum list?
Yeah. Oh, just purely out of sympathy because now he's on concussion protocol because he literally almost got knocked unconscious. So T's and P's to Andrew Sendejo. I'm sure whenever you come back for the playoffs, you're going to be right back on my bum list, so don't get excited. J.K. Dobbins shortly after the game tweeted something along the lines of, if you're going to try to hit me, make sure you wear your big boy pants. And then he got roasted on Twitter because he was unaware that Andrew Sendejo got a concussion.
Oh, uh-huh.
Yeah. So, of course, J.K. Dobbins is from Cleveland, so there's a lot of people that know him and like him in the area, and was just like, yo, dog.
This ain't the one.
That's a bad look. So he deleted his tweet and then, kind of halfway apologized, but basically was like, hey, I was just talking shit. I got a lot of respect for the guy. I hope he feels better. So, fair enough. Good for you, J.K. Dobbins.
I hope he remembers that hit.
Yeah, I'm sure he will.
That's a double meaning.
Yeah. Well, he's on the sidelines for the next minimum 2 weeks.
That's a threat and also a commentary on that one Will Smith movie.
I don't know what movie you're talking about.
Wasn't it just called Concussion or The Protocol?
Oh, yeah, The Protocol or whatever. Yeah. I never watched that movie.
Neither did I, but
Yeah.
I hear the dog dies at the end.
So what?
I hear the dog dies at the end.
Oh, sad.
Oh, wait, that's the other Will Smith movie.
Another thing is fumbles. We had 5 of them. Luckily, we didn't lose any of them. Wow. But, made my butt squeeze a little bit.
Yeah, that's too many.
Yeah, Rashad Higgins had 3, Landry had 2, Baker had 1, Kareem Hunt had 1. We recovered all of them.
Was that all in the first half? Because I don't remember seeing...
Yeah, they were mostly in the first half.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Ravens, man, they're good at making turn, and it was all like a defender getting in there and punching the ball out. It was good plays from the defender. Rashad Higgins put a couple on the ground that he was able to recover, and other people were able to recover. Baker Mayfield had a scramble where he got stripped as he scrambled, and it kicked itself out of bounds, and I was like, oh, thank God. And then, towards the end of the game, there was this huge momentum shift because, Lamar Jackson started dealing with his cramps and had to go to the locker room because he just couldn't fucking run, and that's what you need Lamar Jackson to do sometimes. And in that time frame, they had a Trace McSorley out there because RG3 is injured.
Yeah.
Go figure. And Trace McSorley was very ineffective, which allowed us to have a huge swing of momentum and put ourselves in prime position to win the game. And then the last time we scored, so we scored to take a 1-point lead, and then they scored back and then tied it up, and then we scored back and to tie it up. And the only thing I could think of after we got that last score was there's too much time on the clock.
Yeah,
there's too much time.
It was like 42 seconds, and it's like somehow.
Yeah, that's too much time. Justin Tucker's too good, and Lamar Jackson's coming back because Trace McSorley died.
Yeah.
Or he was already back at that point because he had already been back for the drive prior to this. So it's like that's too much time, and it went about exactly as you would expect. They went to their safety valve receivers just to chip yardage away until they got within Justin Tucker's range, and with 7 seconds left, he punches it through for the win.
Yep. From
55 yards, 90.8% career field goal kicker.
It's because Justin Tucker is probably the best kicker in the league right now.
Probably. He's a future Hall of Famer as a place kicker. The drive before that, we had a blown coverage that gave them that touchdown so we were kind of playing like a contained man type thing because obviously Lamar Jackson's running all over the damn place. Lamar rolls out to the right, which keeps the secondary's eyes downfield. A linebacker and a cornerback kept their eyes downfield on Lamar, but they weren't paying attention to their level.
Uh-huh.
And they ran into each other, pretty much picked each other.
Right, yeah. And
that's when Hollywood Brown pretty much had 5 yards of separation on the post at that point. And Lamar Jackson, being Lamar Jackson, decent field vision, stops his scramble and just pops it over to him and runs it in for an easy touchdown. And that kind of reestablished the momentum for the Ravens, and they carried that momentum into the next drive. After Baker, the next drive came out and marched down 75 yards for a touchdown in 48 seconds, but that was too much time.
Yeah,
I'm glad we scored quick.
Too fast.
Yeah, I'm glad they scored quick, but I didn't want them to score that quick.
Baker, you're cooking. Don't take it out of the oven so soon, though.
Yeah, right. Give us some time. Gotta let it rest.
Yeah.
But overall, easily game of the year. Not just for me, because I'm a Browns fan, but to a lot of people. Very entertaining football. Heartbreaking. But I'm undeterred. No moral victories, but I'm undeterred. 11-5 is a likelihood. 12-4 is a possibility, and we're still not out of it for the division, and we still have a very, very, very high chance of making a wild card, and that's the most I've been able to say about the Browns since the early 2000s.
Yeah, you're definitely going to need some stuff to fall your way if you're going to suddenly steal the division, but I would be more shocked if the Browns did not still make the playoffs than if they were knocked out.
Yeah,
then if they weren't knocked out.
Right. It's like I said, it's not an old school clinch, but it's still very statistically likely. But there's still games to be played.
But hey, Miami did you a solid.
Miami did us a solid. Thank you, Miami. Keep those other wild card teams away from us. We play the Giants next week. The Giants could be a trap game. So
shouldn't be, but it could be.
But it shouldn't be, but it could be. I expect to win that game. I've already told Greg that if we lose to the Jets, I will play in traffic. And then we close out the season against the Steelers, who have been exposed in the recent weeks. So there is certainly a possibility that we can run the table and shake up the AFC North a little bit, if not the playoffs in general. So I'm looking forward to that.
Word. Well, I think that was a solid... dense breakdown of that game and your feelings on it.
Yeah, it's a very emotional one for me this week.
A very special episode.
It's a very special episode. You know what else is special, though?
What's that?
The Bills doing their part.
Yeah, fuck
and
the
teaching
Steelers.
them.
They weren't that good.
Yeah, teaching them dirty Steelers what it's like.
Tell you what for with no fans in the stands.
Hell
Fuck.
yeah, brother.
You know what it was for a long time, though?
What's that?
Real boring and a lot of defense.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I was at work for this game as well. But I wasn't running calls. I just stopped watching.
Yeah.
Because I knew you would. So tell me about it. What happened?
Okay, let me read you the first quarter, and let me see if you can notice a pattern in how many plays there were.
Okay.
So first quarter, 3 plays, 4 plays, 4 plays, 3 plays, 8 plays, 5 plays. There were 8 drives in the first quarter.
Uh-huh.
There are sometimes games where there are only 8 drives. This was a lot of us coming out and me being impressed with us stopping Big Ben from really getting anything rolling, and then just watching the offensive line get completely dominated. Like, just play after play after. Josh was running for his fucking life for most of this game until we started.
One sack.
Yeah, until we started making adjustments in the second half. Sure. Now, granted, we had one guy who was stopping TJ Watt, but they were coming right up the middle at us, and they did not care for the middle of our line. Mitch Morris was getting completely bullied. Honestly, us shifting John Feliciano from right guard to center was one of the smarter things we did while Mitch was out for a while. But holy shit, it was Cameron. No, not Cameron Hayward. Who's the other guy? Oh, maybe it was Hayward. Their big defensive tackle. Just like a child who's like outgrowing his first set of clothes and is just bopping over fucking blocks. He was like, "No, get out. Stop it. These are my toys. I want the football." And they damn near took it a lot, which is why it's nice to have a young, more mobile Big Ben on your team.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of ineffective football and a lot of defense to begin with. And basically I felt very similar to how I felt against the 49ers early in this game, where the Steelers finally got on the board and I went, okay, little concerned at this point, not gonna lie, this is a problem. And then we proceeded to after they scored a touchdown in 3 plays, again, maybe you're seeing a trend here.
I'm seeing a little bit of a trend, yes.
We punted, they punted, both also 3 plays, and we finally got a field goal. And as the second half is winding down, Teron Johnson comes in with maybe the biggest momentum changer I've seen all season in picking off a pass to Juju Smith-Schuster and taking it back to the house on Big Ben, putting us up 9-7 because we also miss extra points. Thanks, thanks Tyler Bass.
Was he on the left hash?
I assume so. It was an extra point. He gets to pick where he was. If he wasn't there, then
I'm disappointed.
It's doubly on him. But so that's basically my summation of the first half. It was a defensive rout. It feels. Let me get into that a little bit, I guess.
Okay.
It feels really good to have the Bills' defense back.
Yeah, I saw your status on Facebook.
It's like the real Bills defense that gets stops and takeaways and can stop the run. Now, granted, one huge advantage that Pittsburgh gives us that is not personnel related at all is the fact that they don't run any fucking play action.
Right.
So knowing that if it looks like he's getting handed the ball, James Conner's getting handed the ball. We stopped people up the A-gap kind of this game. They were only getting 3 to 4 yards as opposed to 6 to 8. Right. So Baby steps.
Baby steps. That's improvement.
That's improvement. You're only getting half of what you were getting before. You'll only probably get a first down instead of definitely getting it. But I mean, we were out there. We were locking up receivers. We were getting some pressure. We got the first sack on Big Ben in like fucking forever because he was just not going down. Like Baker was at like 180 attempts. Big Ben was at like 270 or something without taking a sack. Like absurd.
Yeah, he can still do that pretty well.
Yeah, and he definitely at one point like put a hand out and just kind of like kept a guy back and then like loaf of breaded it a little bit. But you know, we were able to actually get some pressure, which felt nice. Except the Steelers' offensive line apparently was down to their last lineman, literally. So if one more guy had been hurt, they'd be playing tight ends at left tackle or some shit. So got a little bit of help there. I'm not saying this, was a perfect game, but we came in and we actually locked down, and not in a you're getting yards on us and we're stopping you just outside of field goal range, and not you're getting yards on us and then kicking field goals. Like, you're getting 3 to 6 plays and that's going to be it, and then you're kicking it to us.
Right.
Which felt good. And then the second half happened. And in the second half, we were reminded of a man who is second or third in the league in receiving yards and first in receptions. And that man's name is Stephon Diggs. Because Stephon Diggs got in the game and just, like, I don't know what the game plan was. I don't know if the game plan was just do some schoolyard bullshit. Because Stephon, I swear to God, stopped running routes and was just like, dude, I'm just going to find the soft spot.
Yeah, just find the spot in the zone and Josh Allen to take care of the rest.
It's like, and then it's like boom, and then it's yards after catch, just every single time. And one of the times he was able to take it in from like 15 or 20 yards out, but like he was finding spots where he had like 3 to 7 yards of separation from people. And on some of these plays, he was like literally just like jogging to the sideline by the end of it. So he like wasn't taking hits, was still getting a fuck ton of yards, and was just like, I'm open again. Yeah. I'm open again. And like quietly out of nowhere, because I think he had like 2 receptions in the first half total, quietly put together like a 130-yard game.
Pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good. Colt Beasley was kind of quiet. Didn't really get a whole lot of yards. I don't know what it is. Yeah, 41, like not a lot. Gabe Davis also didn't have a lot, and it also had like a couple of drops, which was not great, but he got open in the end zone, and Josh threw a little shoulder fake to pull one of the defenders down, and then just like not quite a laser, not it's one of those things only Josh can do, where it's like finesse but at like 90 miles an hour.
Yeah. It's like the bullet lob.
Yeah, where he's just like, I'm 6'5" and I release at about 8 foot, so by the time it gets there, it'll be fine.
It'll get over.
But yeah, it was the offense not doing a whole lot, getting stopped a lot. Like, we were able to start grinding out yards in the running game, towards the end of it. So, Zach Moss got a little bit. I still think Devin Singletary looks better. Like we've been using Zach Moss now kind of as the number 1 running back. But whenever Singletary gets in there, he's the more patient guy. He's the one bouncing around behind the lineman to find the hole. And I still feel like he's being more productive, but it feels like we're going to Zach Moss more. And I don't understand it. It's like the one thing that's kind of baffling me about like McDermott's personnel choices right now. Because most of the time, shit makes sense to me. Like, they've drafted the right guys. They've got the right guys in the right spots. Like, Dawson Knox is clearly our number 1 tight end at this point, so he's kind of trending in the right direction. Our wide receiver core is completely figured out at this point. Like, but it's this space in the backfield where it's like, Zach Moss is not Nick Chubb. He's just not.
Yeah, and we've talked about it before, like with you like talking about patience, looking for the gap and stuff, and the difference running style between Devin Singletary and Zach Moss. Like, we talked about it before with Zach Moss attributing his game to Marshawn Lynch.
Mm.
And it's like, I mean, you're 5'9", dude. Like, you're 200 pounds.
Yep.
You're not Marshawn Lynch. The reason why running backs like you do well when you're patient, and you can still drop a shoulder on somebody. You can run physically, but you're not gonna punch through 300-pound defensive tackles like a prototypical power back would. That patience will kind of take you a long way. But my only question is, like, maybe Zach Moss strikes the offense as more of like a pure runner. So they're trying to keep Devin Singletary fresh as a change of pace / receiving back.
It's possible.
But that would really be the only thing that I would, like, it's the only reason why I would assume you're using your superior running back in that fashion. But it's not quite the same as like having a Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt kind of thing, where Nick Chubb's our every down workhorse, and then we have Kareem Hunt as a change of pace back.
Well, it's funny you make that comparison, because it's kind of like the exact roles that they fit into. It's just that the Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt running back duo is clearly superior to the Zach Moss, Devin Singletary running back duo. as much as I think Zach Moss is a nice kid and Devin Singletary shifty, like, come on, like, yeah. Kareem Hunt would still be our number one running back if he suddenly showed up on the Bills roster today.
Yeah, and I think Devin Singletary is he's a really good running back. I do. Yeah.
But it's not those two.
It's not those two, and I don't think either Zach Moss nor Devin Singletary really have the body. Like, they don't have the frame.
They don't. They're both kind of tiny. Like, they're both the tiny, stocky thing. Zach Moss just likes to put his head down a little bit more, whereas Singletary likes to bounce it. But the other thing that they're both missing is neither one of them has like a crazy top gear or anything. Okay. So they're not gonna ever be home run hitters.
Right. So even if you do bounce out into some space, they're not going to separate.
The thing about Singletary is I think he's consistently good for 20 yards. He's never going to get that 80-yard touchdown.
Gotcha.
Unless we do something stupid where he's like on the left side with 3 blockers in front of him, and like, it's Smoke throwing him a touchdown pass or something.
Right. Well, at least they weren't as quiet as James Conner.
Yeah. James Conner we shut down like pretty well. I was happy about our run defense, but the Steelers just also don't run it that much. So, like, once we got a little bit of a lead, we were kind of able to bully them into just never thinking that running it was a good idea again.
Yeah.
And one thing I really want to point out, so Josh did not have impressive stats this game. Like, he threw for 1.5 Cam Newtons. So, it was...
Cam Newton doesn't even do that anymore.
Yeah, he doesn't even do that. But if you take... You can see the split. This was a graphic I sent to you, where in the first half versus the second half, Josh was throwing from 43% completions to 70%. He threw for 76 yards in the first half, 162 in the second.
Yeah, definitely a tale of two halves.
Like, his interception came in the first, his 2 touchdowns came in the second. So once Diggs started getting hot, and once that offense figured out, hey, maybe we double team this guy in the middle who's fucking everything up, started to work a little bit better. But yeah, that's generally my analysis. I was confident going into this game that we could win it. Home field advantage isn't really a thing. I'll be honest. I'm starting to have a thought at this point that maybe the person who's benefiting the most from not having fans in the stands and having time to mature and build chemistry is Josh Allen. I think having a year where every game is basically neutral ground is really good for him. And
no pressure.
Having a second year with Cole Beasley and Smoke, having a first year with Stephon Diggs, and not having the entire crowd go completely ballistic every time he makes a big play or something crazy. Because what we're not seeing is hero ball Josh. We're not seeing what they like to say on Good Morning Football. We're not seeing Sugar Rush Josh. like out here just doing dumb shit. It's controlled, it's calculated, it's perceptive, it's following his progressions, it's all of the good stuff, and none of the let's just do some buck wild shit. Like he ran
full fucking send.
Yeah, he tried to run for a first down on like a 3rd and 15 and got like half of it and was going forward to try and get the yardage, but that's the closest to like something real dumb he's done in a while. So I honestly think like taking that element away is helping Josh's game right now, because it also probably lets him stay in his head and like continue to focus on his mechanics and shit, as he's still getting all that worked out with his new throwing motion. So it also means that I think the person who's going to receive the most benefit from fans coming back is also going to be Josh later on, when he's had time to adapt and have all the good shit happen, because like Stephon Diggs is going to get a fucking parade the first time he catches a touchdown with fans in the stands. They're just going to stop the game. They're going to go down Allen Street downtown, and and then we can go back to the game afterwards. We'll get like negative 50 yards, but Tyler Bass will still somehow hit that extra point because he's maybe got the biggest leg in the league, because that's what we do. You got a big arm, we're taking you. You got a big leg, we're taking you. All we need is a big brain on somebody to stop challenging all these plays. Sean McDermott, no, he's been fine this year.
Was there any questionable challenges in this game?
No. Okay. Everything was pretty solid in this game. Again, there was so little going on in the entire first half. There wasn't even anything to challenge because people just weren't producing anything.
Right. Yeah, I dug up interesting stats while you were talking. So both teams punted to combine 13 times for a combined punting yards of 546.
That sounds about
That is
right.
more production than both offenses combined.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
I bet you the majority of that, when it comes to the Bills, was the first half.
Yeah. I think we had 9...
How do you say your punter's last name?
Bajorquez.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got like a J and a Q in there.
Yeah. I just want to make sure.
And you don't pronounce either one of them.
Nope. Fucking Spanish, man.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yes, he's kind of a mulatto dude with blonde hair, so figure that one out. Probably actually Spain.
Yeah, I've seen weirder.
Yeah. Hi. says the white dude. But yeah, that's about everything I've got from our game. Tyron Johnson suffered a concussion after his pick six. So he was out for the rest of the game. So we had to put Saran Neal in as our big nickel. And you could tell the difference. You could tell that Tyron Johnson is definitely our starting slot corner.
Gotcha. How do you concuss yourself?
It wasn't like directly after the play. It was just.
Okay. I just pictured in my head like him scoring the touchdown and then just running headfirst into the uprights.
I was gonna say, did you see the one bomb that Baker threw into the end zone and the Ravens player fucking tagged themselves on the uprights?
No, I missed that.
Yeah, there was definitely I think it was 46 or something for the Ravens. Baker just chucked it out of the end zone, and the dude was still kind of looking for it for an interception. Just I don't think he caught his head, but he caught his shoulder.
Checked it.
Yeah. And took himself out. So, it happens.
Stranger things have happened.
But yeah, moving on to other games around the league. Is there any particular place you want to start? I got a couple queued up.
I got a couple queued up as well.
All right, well, I've been talking, so you talk for a little bit.
Okay. Let's talk about the Chiefs and Dolphins.
Okay. This was a game that I actually watched.
Yeah.
Because I was like, hey, I bet you the Browns game's on at 1 o'clock, and then it was like, no, that's the Monday night game, you idiot.
Yeah. Whoops. Yeah. So first off, the Chiefs played at about a C. Okay. And this proves that they really got to play at a D or an F for you to beat them.
Yeah. Yeah, they gave Miami every opportunity in the first half.
And, Tua Tagovailoa, Offensive Rookie of the Year, he turned in a solid performance. He had a turnover. It was a bad read, but like solid performance. Couldn't get the running game together, but he did fine. He did everything but put the ball in the end zone himself. Patrick Mahomes literally was trying to gift Miami points, throwing 3 interceptions for the first time in ever.
I think it was literally the first game he's ever thrown 3 interceptions in the same game. He had thrown 2 interceptions all season, one to the Raiders in each game, and then he comes in and gives Miami 3.
Yep. So as far as his touchdown to interception ratio, it dropped him from first/second, constantly trading with Aaron Rodgers, down to like 5th now in one game.
Yeah.
Over total, Kansas City had 4 turnovers. And they still won by a touchdown. Tyreek Hill had a rushing touchdown. Patrick Mahomes had 2 touchdowns. Passing, they're kicking field goals. I think they had a field goal. So that was like the total of their scoring was the 1 field goal in the 4th. But like all the way through that game, all the way up until the second half, or the 4th quarter, like the Chiefs were trying to gift that game to Miami. And the Chiefs, that whole squad is like, I heard an analysis on sports radio this morning. It was either this morning or yesterday morning. Not an analysis, a comparison. They're like when Golden State went to the finals 3 years in a row because they're just better.
Yeah.
And you really need them to fuck up or somebody critical to be hurt to beat them.
Or Patrick Mahomes to not be on his rookie contract.
Yeah, like...
Just saying, eventually they're going to have to pay that man, and some things are going to change. But for right now, ooh, buddy, are they good.
Yeah, it's like I said at the beginning of the segment, like they played at a C, and all they proved is you got to catch them at a D or an E to beat them, you know?
Or you got to be playing at A+ on both sides because...
Right, like that's how the Raiders pretty much beat them. They were playing at like a B, A-ish level, and the Raiders decided to turn in an A+ performance.
Basically, you've got to Belichick Kansas City and be like, if you're going to give us the ball, we're going to score a touchdown. Mm-hmm. If you're going to turn it over, we're going to punish you as hard as possible. Mm-hmm. One quick note on Miami's defense, though. Do you know that they are tied with the Steelers for most turnovers taken? Like, they have caused the most turnovers in the league. They're tied for the league.
Did not know that.
Their secondary is definitely taking the ball away a fair amount, though. Yeah. Giving it to them 3 times when you're Patrick Mahomes is still a lot.
Still a lot, and it's weird. Like, of 4 turnovers, I think they only converted once on 4 turnovers in this game.
I want to say they scored a touchdown and a field goal.
Okay, so on 4 turnovers, they put 10 points on the board. They scored twice.
That's not enough.
That's not enough against Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, a solid defense. But I tell you what, especially at the end of the game, Miami did not make it easy for the Chiefs.
No.
I was confident the Chiefs were going to win. I didn't expect it to be like this, though. Like, because Miami's good, they're solid, but like the Chiefs walk through solid teams, Miami tried to make it close. It was an entertaining game to watch, and Tua Tagovailoa, Rookie of the Year.
Tua Tagovailoa taking a sack in his end zone for a crimitree.
Yeah, whatever. He took a lot of those.
That was maybe the biggest like rookie mistake I had seen the entire time, because they were pretty backed up to start with, but he just gave it to him. I mean, it was one play that I think backed him up a couple yards. I've actually got it right here. Yeah, it was like a one thing that backed him up a couple yards, and then he backed up like 6 or 7 yards into the end zone and still took a sack. And it was like, throw it at a guy. Throw it at any guy. Even an interception, arguably better than a safety.
Arguably, yes.
But yeah,
that's really all I got on that game.
Miami continues to be like weirdly competitive.
Yeah, solid.
And they've got Houston's draft pick, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're still probably going to be picking a top 10 player next year to add to this.
And they don't have to look. They can use it on something. They can use it on a skill position.
Yeah, they can use it on basically whatever they want.
Yeah, really whatever they want, exactly. Because Tua's looked solid enough to have faith in him going into next season.
And I'll be perfectly honest, with 2 first-round draft picks, because they've still got their own, and knowing Brian Flores comes out of New England, they might just give that up and just start scooping up picks again.
Mm-hmm. Take another solid season next year with this roster, and then really clean up in the next draft. We'll see how it shakes out.
All right.
So
should we jump to the other kid real quick, just to quickly say he won his game against Matty Ice? And Justin Herbert, the real offensive rookie of the year.
I don't know who you're talking about.
The hair apparently is not good enough to stay on his head. I don't know. That was the best haircut joke I came up with, and I'm like 3 weeks late on it. So
you're reaching for that one. I mean, he did okay. About the same as Tua, so I guess they're both equivalent.
I think Justin Herbert ends up in a real bad situation where he's got Anthony Lynn as his head coach. Anthony Lynn is defensive to begin with, and is also apparently not the greatest decision maker in the world.
Well, yeah, the Chargers love blowing big leads, just like the Falcons do. So I'm surprised points were even scored in this game after halftime.
I'll be really sad to see Brian Daboll as the head coach of the Chargers drawing up plays for Justin Herbert next year.
I'll be really sad when Matt Ryan goes to the 49ers next year.
You mean Aaron Rodgers?
No, Matt Ryan of the Eagles going to play for the 49ers.
Matt Ryan of the Falcons.
Or of the Falcons. The Birds.
The Birds.
Going to play for the 49ers because they're going to give up on the Garoppolo experiment. Calling it. Stamp it.
But you think it's going to be Matt Ryan with all that money tied to him?
Yeah.
You don't think it's going to... Well, or it could be Carson
He wants to
Wentz.
go play with Kyle Shanahan again.
Yeah,
he almost won a Super Bowl with Kyle Shanahan.
It's true. It's true. Could be.
Saints Eagles.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's bounce to a rookie quarterback who wins his first start.
Wins his first start against arguably the hottest team in the NFL.
Yeah. No. Second hottest.
I mean,
third hottest.
No.
Top 4 hottest.
I mean, statistically, they were the hottest team in the NFL. They haven't lost since week 3.
Did they go 0-3 to start?
They went 1-3 to start, or 1-2 to start.
So they've lost. Oh, right, duh. This game, the one that they lost. Never mind. I'm good at reading stats. Shut up.
Anyways, the Saints picked a bad time to actually start putting points on the board. Why
do you say that?
Because it was
too late
after halftime. After the Eagles went up 17-0 at the half, and then just got a fourth quarter touchdown to seal it. Taysom Hill, solid performance, but I'm sure Taysom Hill's performance was solid enough to where I would not be surprised if they decided to keep him out there until the postseason.
Yeah, he's got like quarterback stats this game.
Yeah, and over the past couple of weeks, Taysom Hill has shown that Sean Payton can trust him to throw the ball. But obviously the biggest story here is Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts, the first rookie since Lamar Jackson to have 100 rushing yards in his first start in the NFL, quarterback-wise. Decent numbers as far as passing the ball, but he showed he could spin it, and he protected the ball. He had a nice deep touchdown pass with some decent touch on it, and he protected the ball, no turnovers. The completion percentage wasn't quite there.
His stats actually remind me very much of Tua's first game, just with the difference being the rushing yards.
Yeah, and that's really the dynamic Jalen Hurts brings to this Eagles offense is his athleticism. He's not, obviously we're not looking at, a physical freak runner at quarterback like Lamar Jackson yet, for start. But he was able to do something for that Eagles offense, especially with them struggling so much at the offensive line position, which is stay mobile. Either run for it or take the easy throw.
Right.
But move the pocket. Keep the pocket moving so they can't just tee off on you like we saw Carson Wentz do for the past fucking 10 weeks, 11 weeks. Where the defenses could literally just, send 3 or 4 rushers and immediately put pressure on Carson Wentz's face, because Carson Wentz, although athletic, he's still a bigger dude, not the fastest guy on the planet. And the moment he started moving and shaking in the pocket, he would turn into a hero ball Wentz and just make really, really bad judgment calls. That's something that Doug Peterson can keep away from Jalen Hurts, because Jalen Hurts is still, young and groomable. But that remains to be seen as we carry into next week. But Doug Peterson has already confirmed that Jalen Hurts is going to start next week.
Yep. And I mean, why wouldn't they start him at this point?
Exactly. They got to win over a really good football team that has been streaking even without their future Hall of Fame quarterback. But so there's going to be some QB controversy because they're still tied to a lot of money in Carson Wentz.
Oh yeah.
And they're either gonna bench millions of dollars or they're gonna try to offload a shit contract via the trades. Nobody's gonna pick that up.
Really don't think so.
Yeah. So you gotta at least have them on the roster to avoid all that dead cap next year. So who knows? He might get some use, or a desperate team that thinks he's fixable, looking for a quarterback. There's some teams that are going to be quarterback shopping next year.
Yeah.
So
he's going to have
he's
going to have a great 6 or 7 years in Detroit.
Once Matt Stafford decides to fucking leave.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Stafford needs to leave Detroit. He's given Detroit everything, and they've refused to build a team around him.
Yep.
And now he's hurt again.
Yep.
Because they refuse to build a team around him.
Yep.
One of the most talented quarterbacks to ever play the game. Like, Matt Stafford is really, really good.
Yep.
Like, not perennially good, but he is really, really good.
He's one of those players where it's like, oh, he must just put up stats in garbage time, and it's like, well, he plays for the Lions, so all time is garbage time.
Yeah, he's just trying to put up points.
Yeah. It's not me, man.
Yeah, so he needs to get the fuck out.
Yeah.
But as far as games, that's all I really have.
Okay. I was going to just quickly check in and say the Seahawks beat the Jets because the Jets are terrible.
Yes.
And that was as much as I need to say about that.
Yep.
Just checking in. Jacksonville might go 1-15 trying to win games and still not get the number 1 overall pick.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it was actually one of the things that I wanted to talk about briefly was the Jets.
Because they've still got to play the Rams, you, and the Patriots.
Yep.
Those don't sound like wins.
It is very likely, like statistically, that the Jets can be the third team in NFL history to go 0-16. Literally only 3 years after the last team went 0-16.
Yep. Which was only so many years after the first team went 0-16.
Right, which was only like single digits since the last team that went 0-16, which happened to be the fucking Lions that refused to build a team around Matt Stafford. It's a circle, okay? It's not a square. It's a circle. Yeah, the Jets got it rough. Like I said, if the Browns lose to the Jets, I'll go play in traffic.
Yeah. Hopefully that's not necessary.
Yeah, no. But Adam Gase still needs to be fired. This is our Adam Gase watch. Yes, he is still the head coach of the New York Jets for some god awful reason. He has pictures of the owner naked or something. He has to.
No, it's Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
It's because of Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning's keeping Adam Gase's job for him.
Yeah, well, I think Adam Gase was like a quarterback coach or some sort of coordinator or something when Peyton was first getting real hot in the league, and Peyton was like, "I like that guy," and then now he's got jobs. Yeah, McAfee brings it up every once in a while that it's literally Peyton Manning's fault.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably truth to that statement.
I'm just saying, like, again, Adam Gase is an incredible architect for getting you a top tier quarterback out of the draft.
That you will ruin.
Did they ruin Tua yet? Well, I guess Tua was afterwards.
Tua wasn't under Adam Gase.
He broke enough of the system that there was... Listen, Rome was already burning.
Like, poor Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence doesn't have a fucking chance in the NFL.
No.
Because he's going to go to the Jets, and they're going to Sam Darnold him. And Sam Darnold's going to be shipped at the end of the season, I'm convinced.
Yeah, to where?
Because somehow Adam Gase is going to convince the ownership that it's not his fault, it's the roster's fault. Just like it wasn't his fault, it was Greg Williams' fault.
Can you imagine Sam Darnold going to New England?
That's actually my spot if he were to go somewhere where, like, because he is a Bill Belichick quarterback.
Yeah, I don't want that because it works too well.
Yeah, he's a strictly pocket passer with just enough athleticism to get you out of some hairy spots. But in traditional football sense, he is that kind of quarterback that Bill Belichick likes. Likes the safe underneath stuff, likes the in the middle stuff, likes to lean on a running game and a opportunistic defense.
Yeah,
it's exactly what Bill Belichick wants in a quarterback. So that's actually my landing spot for Sam Darnold because I think Cam Newton's going to get shipped after this season as well.
Unless Belichick thinks that Darnold is so broken from seeing ghosts that he's just like, well, I don't. I gave this kid a sixth sense. I don't need him.
Me and Greg actually talked about that yesterday, because not only is Adam Gase still the coach and Greg Williams isn't the defensive coordinator, Adam Gase was the one that fired Greg Williams.
Yeah.
And, obviously it was as a scapegoat to the ownership to keep his own job. But, as owners and the Jets' hierarchy, the GM and the head coach are, on equal levels as far as, tiers, and they both report directly to the owner. So, like we talked about before, Greg Williams being fired but Adam Gase is saying that Adam Gase is not responsible for his staff's decisions. And it's he had a headset on too. He heard the play call. If he thought it was a bad call, he could have said something,
He could have said something. One of the 11 defensive players who were actually on the field could have said something.
Yeah. So for the Jets to go out and play the Seahawks and get absolutely torched fucking 40-3.
Not surprising.
Does not surprise me.
No.
But if Adam Gase still has a job with the Jets or has a job in the league in general starting next season, the NFL is broken and I'm never watching it again. He lied.
Especially after how well the Browns are playing now. He's definitely watching the NFL for at least one more season.
I gotta see where this goes.
Can't leave it now. Definitely the 7th book will wrap up the way that I need it to. All right. Well, if that's all we've got, I don't really have any news or anything. You got any news?
Yeah, I got some news. Speaking of books, Cleveland, once again, cost bettors millions of dollars because of that safety.
Right, because, it just pushed the line just enough.
Mm-hmm. So it pushed the line just enough to where they covered.
Yeah.
And so just after a couple of weeks ago, Nick Chubb purposely running out of bounds, causing the Browns not to cover and costing millions of dollars to bettors and bookers. The same thing happened again in the opposite, where they did cover because of a safety. So you're welcome. Sports betting's stupid. I mean, I like it, but doesn't mean I'm smart when I do it.
All right. Anything else? The Ravens are apparently trying to activate Des Bryant again off of the COVID list, even though he's apparently tweeted, I guess I'm just going to hang him up. So I don't know where that contract stands at this point.
Well, I'm pretty sure Des Bryant rolled back on that tweet.
Okay. Well, that
like he's like, hey, I was just kidding,
There was one pretty funny take I heard on the whole situation because he tested positive during like warm-ups or whatever, and it's like, how the hell do you test positive during warm-ups? It's like, oh man, he dropped like the last 3 balls thrown at him. Fucking go test that motherfucker.
Yeah. Well, the Ravens have the advantage. The Ravens, when they do testing, they get their testing back same day.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike the rest of the teams in the league, because the lab that they use is in the same city as them.
Mm-hmm.
So they get better proximity to the testing, so they get same day results for their COVID shit. Yeah, that was pretty funny. Like a whole bunch of people just like talking about like the scuttlebutt of like, oh, it's fucking false positive or it's all fake and they just don't want Des Bryant to play and blah blah blah. So like obviously like conspiracy theories abound because that was supposed to be like his, his revenge game to Dallas that he didn't get to play in. But it is what it is. From what I understand, he rolled back on that tweet, and if they activate him, I'm sure he'll play. Des Bryant's got a couple more years left in him.
Yeah, if he wants him, I'm sure. I mean,
I don't know how good he'd be, but I know they're there.
Can he go stand in the end zone and jump occasionally?
Probably.
He'd be all right.
Yeah, it'd be good.
All right, you said you had a little bit of news? Maybe?
It was the spread thing.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, if that's it, then
yes.
Okay. This has been this week's episode of the Fourth and Wrong podcast for December the 15th, 2020. Thanks for watching, and say goodbye, Keith.
Goodbye, Keith.
I don't know how that's going to look at the end.